welcome to the Challenger League here for WCS Korea. We have some really good players coming today to round out the round of 48.
Yeah, we have our starting match today with RorO versus Classic. We are, of course, going through all of the games a little bit later on today. Youngwa versus Hydra in the second set. Yoda versus Stork, and then last but not least, we have Billowy making an appearance and going up another Zerg player. Effort is the one that has to face him.
Yeah, I can never, ever understand why you would want to call yourself Billowy, but...
yeah. That's going to remain a mystery, but the games today should be really good. So far in the Challenger League, we had pretty exciting matches, especially our last day was pretty good. A couple of the results on paper looked like really overwhelming, a lot of 2-0s, but the games itself were simply stunning.
Yeah, and this has been shaping up to be a really good season so far. Just seeing some of the upsets that we've seen on and off camera, and it always begs the question, are we going to see some more of those upsets? Today's matches, you don't really look at them and think there's going to be a big, clear favorite in really any of them, in my opinion.
On the other hand, I mean, we have players like RorO, for example. He goes up against Classic, who has a really good Zerg, record against Zerg, but at the same time, RorO, a former champion, finds himself in the first round of the Challenger League, so that alone is already a bit of a surprise here.
Yep.
But as you can see, here are the results. So last time, Curious in a great best-of-3, lost against Sora, live with a 2-1 over Trust. Really good series there as well. Hurricane, with crazy build orders against Bunny, making it look easy. And then last but not least, Koka and Songderi. Koka back to business.
Yeah, back to business indeed. And the games, Hurricane versus Bunny, were some of the best executed, most well-planned out builds I've ever seen. Definitely recommend watching that series if you haven't caught it. Here, of course, we have Samsung Galaxy's RorO going up against Classic, as you mentioned before, as our first match. Youngwa versus Hydra, going to be an epic one. Yoda versus Stork, and last but not least, Effort and Billowy. You know, a lot of people looking at these matches, like myself, I think cannot really say there's a big favorite either way. I think a lot of people have their eyes on Stork right now because he's a huge StarCraft 1 fan favorite, a big, strong Protoss name, and if he's able to beat a good, experienced player Yoda today, I think a lot of fans are going to be happy.
Yeah, that would be really great for him. But on the other hand, you know, we are starting already off with a really interesting match. RorO, of course, the one who is a lot more accomplished than Classic is in this game. He is a champion, and he's also the one who has just provided us with countless of beautiful games. But at the same time, he's not really all that great in this matchup. Just recently, a 50% win ratio, and going up against Classic, who has such a crazy win ratio, 86% in this matchup. Maybe did not meet exactly the same level of players, but a lot of the opponents that he had to face in Pro League, for example, were quite strong and well-known names. So this is going to be a pretty exciting match in my opinion.
Me too. Classic looks dangerous, man. And I'm not just talking about his hair that's totally crazy and out there. He's somebody who looks like the type of person who could actually eliminate a champion here. It could definitely happen. Polar Knight is the first map, and RorO looking, you know, honestly, he looks a little bit tense to me in the booth. I could see him falling here. He's a strong player. He's really good. But as of late, he's not been as dominant.
It could definitely happen. That's definitely true. I mean, this is one of the games where I think it's going to be the closest today. Depends a little bit on the shape that the two players are in, of course. Polar Knight being the first map of our best-of-3, so Zerg versus Protoss to start us off into the day here at the Challenger League in Korea, WCS. And this is going to be a great game. I mean, the entire set that we have today, all 4 matches are going to be quite exciting. You mentioned Yoda versus Stork that we have a little bit later on, and that's going to be a good one as well. The only Terran versus Protoss actually that we're going to see today.
Yeah. You're absolutely right about that. Let's get into our Protoss versus Zerg. RorO up against Classic here at the WCS Korea Challenger League with Calder and Wolf.
Starting at the top of the map, game number 1 of the best-of-3 starts the Zerg player. Yes.
Samsung Galaxy RorO.
RorO, a former GSL champion, he is going up against the Protoss player in the first round of the Challenger League. Starting to the bottom of Polar Knight, we have
SK Telecom T1 Classic.
We talked a little bit about Classic already in the pre-game talk, just looking at his statistics. He has 13 map wins and only 2 map losses. Leaves him with an 86% win ratio. Took down opponents like Crazy, Effort, Savage, Zero, and a pretty decent record. Maybe not the same level of players that RorO had to face in the past, but his track record in this matchup is pretty stellar.
Yeah.
On the other...
I was just saying, they're all, you know, fairly recent, a lot of those. So, I mean, he's taking I mean, he's really going down a strong path when it comes to being this Zerg players. So, like you said, I think RorO has definitely beaten some higher caliber players in the past, but Classic definitely doing well in this matchup.
Yeah, RorO with 26 maps played is looking at a 53 win ratio in the matchup itself. You might argue that he has a lot more experience just in general and is just used to play under a lot more pressure. Of course, we have just with a bit, not really the same amount of games played, but a similar amount of games played Classic in a situation where he definitely had a lot of face time on camera, but at the same time RorO was in finals several times, so there's a lot of pressure that he had to deal with in the past. That might help him here in the first round, because keep in mind, if you lose here, you drop down to Code B, you will have to try to re-qualify for the Challenger League next season. So this is the most tense moment in gamers history when you go into the Challenger League.
Yeah, exactly. These are what we've called the danger days, because it's dangerous to be here. If you're ever in this situation, you may never be in a Korean tournament again. If you fail to qualify the next season and you continue to fail to qualify, then you know, a lot of careers have even ended because of this, so you got to be really careful. RorO is hitting, by the way, up to about 600 APM at times here, it looks like, so he is really spamming it out right now.
And both players are going for very normal build orders. There's nothing too exciting going down just yet. We have starting with the pool into hatch. Gas taking a bit early here for RorO as well. Against the gateway opening that Classic has here, definitely a good start. But both players just sticking to the normal build orders. We don't have an early pool here. Nobody's trying to rush anything out. Just testing the water a little bit in the first game.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a good map for that type of style, to just play a normal straight-up game, no specific builds, just kind of reactionary, because the map is very straight-up, very simple. The third base is relatively easy for both races to take quickly.
A couple of tricky things that especially Terran can do at that natural and behind it, so this particular matchup doesn't come into place too much. As a Protoss player, you can try to abuse it a little bit later down the road. Oftentimes we see pylons placed down there, which is one of the main reasons why we currently have the Overlord of RorO at the bottom left, also scouting what exactly is going on there. Wants to see the third base later on, and will most likely also send one to the top right to find out if there's maybe something hidden in the early mid-game.
Yeah, a lot of players will take that backdoor base as their fourth because they want to have the forward third. A miss here on the Stargate, it looks like he does not see the tag.
He had a lot of Overlords just being built, and the Roach run is also going down, so that works out quite well, so that he can start with a couple of Roaches here. He's saving up 9. He can definitely go for it now if he wants to. He has the resources. There come 6 Roaches right off the bat. So RorO is going to be really aggressive in this game after all, starting things off with the fastest speed and going straight into Roach speedruns.
Yeah, you know, I really did not expect this. Like I was saying before, this seemed like the best map to just kind of test the waters and play a straight-up game and see exactly how in shape your opponent is. But he's going for a big commitment. He's even hiding the Roaches here.
It's actually looking really good for him.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's no Void Race. It's just Phoenix is coming out here. I think there's only one Sentry. No additional gateways have been adding. He's adding double gas right now.
That's not only the only problem that he has facing here. The Stargate is a part of the wall. So he can snipe the Stargate and therefore negate the early attack of his opponent. There's so many links also on the way. Just look at how the army supply suddenly just jumps up for RorO here. He's at 36 to 12.
Did he not get warp gate research, or is he just not using it? That gateway in the main. Okay, so he did finish it. He can warp in sentries here, but he's going to have to react perfectly here. And a little bit slow on that one. I don't see any way of him holding this. No way.
Yeah, he's swapping in additional sentries, of course, maybe with the force fields, but the problem really is that he has range shielded as well, and those Phoenixes are doing what they can. But the first gateway is already gone. 1 or 2 links are getting into the main base or in the natural, trying to do what they can against the sentries, but the Stargate is going to die, and he doesn't have any other defense here.
There's no production. He can't make cannons. He doesn't have a forge. And this is looking like it's going to be game here. The Lings are already killing the sentries, and Photon Overcharge goes down, but he just doesn't have any production here.
RorO in the past has used very aggressive builds against Protoss players, and see one of the ones that actually take them down with a build that was even without speed for the Zerglings, and here he plays another aggressive build, is successful in game number 1. The Protoss player already on the ropes, losing a lot here, and RorO is just getting more units into the picture.
He's stabilized a little bit, but he needs to remake his wall. He's doing that right now.
He doesn't have any units that he can use here. That's his big problem. The Mothership Core only helps him so much. much, and the next wave of links is already rolling in.
Oh, he needed those force fields. That was not good. He needs to drop at least one here. What is he doing?
There go the sentries, and this is not looking good.
Yeah, you know, look for a second. If he had walled there, maybe he could have actually potentially held this, but he has a third Nexus going up here.
He's doing well, he's still behind, but he's going for the third Nexus and taking a gamble there. And that's a gamble that might actually help him to pull this off after all.
Yeah, there's no scout on that third.
He lost the Stargate on the other hand, he lost the Gateway, he lost a lot of production. So in terms of workers lost, he had to sacrifice 10. And now we have with the lava mechanics immediately the drones coming in. So the drone count, as you can see on the board right now, is increasing rapidly for RorO. He bought himself a pretty good spot.
Yeah. Picks off another probe even with that one link, picks the weaker one. So, you know, it looked like he was going to die, but eventually he stabilized a little bit. That mothership core definitely being really the savior.
The problem for him is the all-attack loss. I mean, he survived for now, but he finds himself very much behind. I like the third Nexus, though. It's a bit of a gamble here, and if this isn't scouted, then that might be what he needs to come back in the game. But in regards to the tech, he's really behind. He's just starting now the Twilight Council, but on the other hand, we already have the layer halfway.
Yeah. And, you know, I still think the position here for RorO is a pretty good one, but the lack of information about the third is just really hurting him now. He could have easily pressured that, forced to cancel most likely even, but now there's a wall, cannons finishing.
That was a pretty decent gamble that Classic took there, actually going for the third base while the attack was still ongoing. He realized that he didn't have the production to get rid of all of the minerals that he had, so he was like, well, what am I going to do with this? I might as well just take a base. If I survive here, I can't go into a very strong mid-gaming when I'm going to see it. And at this point, there was no reason for RorO to scout, so a really good decision made by Classic.
Yeah. And, you know, he's a little bit lucky, too, that he had a probe out there. Uh-oh.
You know, those Phoenixes are doing a lot of damage, and he lost really a lot of harvesters there, too. The harvester will have to save another few building new structures here, trying to get his harvester count up again. But Classic is actually starting to get a really strong position in the game.
Yeah, killing those queens. This is a really big problem, though. He was not map aware about these Zerlings. Zerlings picked off several probes here. With only one cannon, though, he's able to do some damage. I think that
third base.
Yeah, that third base is really potentially going to win him this game. Tech is still a problem, though. He's got a late robo. He does have blink, has the ability to start +2 as he does now. And the upgrades for RorO are really hurting him because he's so far behind. He's going to get Hydras out here, but he's going to be down on upgrades. And there won't be any AoE, but there will be blink, and I think he should easily be able to hold with blink. And also, he's losing Hydras to these Phoenixes just one at a time here. He's got to keep those at the spores. Ouch.
Well, right now, 3 base against 3 base, the position of Classic is going to get better and better by the minute. He's going, well, RorO is going into the infestation pit now. +2 has been started for Classic, and his economy is just incredible. That late scout on that third base really could ruin RorO the game now. He's trying to get everything into the picture, but Classic is already gearing up to do some damage, and RorO is taking this 4th base, attempting to do that quite late. Phoenix says with a, yes, the last second Graviton beam there. He lies the 4th. For even a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's so annoying. This one group of Hydras is trying to control the Phoenixes, but they're just too fast. And now we see a Locust transition, the Swarm Host transition coming out here. And the timing of this actually works out okay for a wave or two, but the AoE damage is coming. And if this is scouted, he can easily, before the Locusts come out, put a snipe on this 4th. Looks like he's just going to go for it anyways. Easily going to force cancel here.
Yeah, the 4th will never go up here. That is definitely true. And the Locusts are a pretty good choice. Going for the Swarm Hosts is something that he can definitely accomplish. The problem is that I don't really see it coming into play as it did, for example, in the GSTL, where we had the game with Bungo.
Yeah. And it's been scouted already by a hallucinated Phoenix, and so now the second robotics is going up, so he can make double Colossi, and this is going to make it relatively easy for him to not only defend this, but also take a 4th. First of all, he's going to go for a big Zealot Warp in here. 7 Zealots, or even more than that.
Very late scout on it too, and now the Locusts are being attacked, but what is he supposed to do? He has to be using a few units to just save his main base. At the same time, suddenly the 3rd is exposed. And keep in mind, there's also the macro hatch. It's not only about that 3rd, it's the macro hatch as well. His production is caught in.
Yeah, his production is caught here. Speaking of production, those Hydras coming out in the worst possible place. And great force field, so he is going to have to run away. But he's targeting down the lair in the main. The lair will fall. The Hydrogen is gone, and This is just looking like a terrible place for RorO here, who's not even microing his roaches. They're starting to fall on the main base as well.
RorO is currently caught between a rock and a hard place. This is not looking good. To get the Hydralisk back into the picture, he needs to take up to left first. He has also no mining in the main base anymore, and there are still several mineral patches left. The 4th base might be his saving grace, but at this point you can really see that the income in general for Classic is just surpassing the Berserk player so much. Double Colossus production, range +3 coming up, charge being researched. Classic is showing us why exactly he has such an incredible record against Zerg.
Yeah, he really is. A few Corruptors coming out here, but only 4 of them, not really going to be enough. And with the 4th base coming up here for Classic, he's just going to have so much money to dump either into run-bys like he's going to go for here again, which, by the way, he did snipe the Spore Crawler in the main base. You know, for me, actually, if I snipe the Lair and I kill the Spore in the main, I'd probably make a Dark Shrine, but he doesn't even have to. He's so ahead here. He's just dropping Zealots after Zealots in the main, not even trying to abuse the fact that his opponent does not have detection here. Going to go for the spawning pool first. Can even target the Roach Warren. Does lose the Warp Prism this time.
And another problem here is that there's no creep spread in the main base anymore because of the lack of the hatch. So right now the spawning pool will go down. The other structures are also losing hit points, and the Roaches and Hydralisk who are sent into the base to defend, they are too far to the left of the main base, so they can't even do anything here. You didn't see that. And now we have a massive army for Classic. He held this early aggression so well, and this ballsy choice to go into this early third really is winning him the game right now. We had 180 against 160 supply, so supply-wise there's not that much of a difference, but it's just the tech that they have. +2 attack already done for the Protoss against +1 for the Zerg player, +3 about to finish, and here comes Classic. He wants to win it right now.
He wants to win it right now, but he's up against a lot of grounding. He has nice hallucinated Colossus here, and it looks like he will actually break through. Just way too much DPS. The Locusts are on cooldown, and now he's going in to kill his foremost. GG.
GG in game. Classic takes it in game number 1 against RorO. Things were looking good at the start for the Zerg player of Samson Khan. He went in with the Zerglings, with the Roaches, did damage, but he did not do enough. He was able to take down 10 Harvesters, but he did not see the 3rd base that Classic threw down immediately. He knew very well that if he was able to hold, the 3rd base could be what wins him the game, and that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah.
Great choice by him, very ballsy, but a very smart one. He couldn't get rid of the minerals, he didn't have the production anymore, his Stargate was taken out, a gateway lost as well, so he did the only thing that he could. He used the minerals to build a few structures, and one of them was the Nexus that won him the game in the end.
And now I think RorO is gonna... It looks like he did that strategy because of how good Classic is doing in this matchup. He didn't want to play him in a straight-up game, but now he might be forced to. I mean, if you see a defense like that, on a map where you've been practicing a very specific all-in, you hit it well, and he still holds and beats you, then you got to be thinking, I got to try something else here, something he doesn't want to do, play the late game against this really strong Protoss vs. Zerg player.
Well, the thing is, RorO didn't really play the late game. He tried to attack early on, and he didn't do as much damage as he wanted to. I feel in the late game he can still take down Classic, but only if he really commits to a very late game oriented strategy himself. And that's something that he didn't do here.
Yeah.
I feel that maybe even at the time he thought that he was in a really good spot because he did not see the 3rd base. So he was operating under the assumption that the Protoss was still on 2 bases. When he saw that 30 was already too late, there was the cannon up, there was the mothership core. So I feel like in this game he at least will make sure he's scoring his scout properly.
Definitely so. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 2.